Hey guys, welcome. Today, there's a record I want to show you guys. It's a children's Halloween record, and it's called "Look and Listen." And it's a pretty cool freaking record. I'm telling you what. Here's what it looks like. If you can see that. We're going to listen to this. And some certain parts, it'll ask you to play the record backwards, and I'll actually play it backwards, and it's cool. You'll see as I play a loogie loogie. All right.
It sure is getting dark awfully fast. It is my educated opinion that Halloween isn't the mouse's favorite time of year.
No, I'm not playing it fast speed. That's how it actually sounds.
I'd be deserted too, but you gotta be somewhere first before you can desert it. If I saw a witch now, I think I'd faint. In the sky, it's a witch! Hello. Well, it's funny that you came by. You see, I was just in the process of deserting. It's a deserting season, you know, and I have my deserting license right here. Right here. And this is my official deserting shirt I'm wearing. See, desert all over my shirt.
Quiet, mouse! Yow! And who are you?
I'm Anon. Anon E. Mouse. And I think I prefer to remain anonymous.
I am Nezra, a witch by trade. I come from the darkness of caves where I've stayed. And every year on Halloween Eve, I search for people who still don't believe.
Oh, I believe.
Then I have to remind them by showing my evil. I confuse and I trick them and create much upheaval. I am only one witch, but I can sound like two. Sometimes I talk backwards and play tricks on you.
Watch.
You've been a sweet one. Now do you believe, sonny boy? Reno Skiffy play tricks on you. You've been a sweet one. Now do you believe, sonny boy? You've been a sweet one.
One more time.
Now, believe, sonny boy? You've been a sweet
Is that cool?
one.
So I'm going to let it play.
And when the flame neath my kettle is hotter than warm, my brew begins boiling and I cook up a storm. Ow! Speaking of cooking, that I do too. I'm an excellent cook. Let me prove it to you. Are you coming to dinner this Halloween? I'll make you a meal like you've never seen.
That I believe too. Yeah.
You won't have to know what I've cooked. Well, I mean, I can't promise you it will be good for your spleen. Nostrils of a toad, scales of a fish, lips from a wasp, a most delicate dish. My last dinner guest had fillet of spider. She took one bite, then I had to hide her. But my cooking is quite a bit better since then. No more pinch of lion. I throw in the whole den. A goblin's goblet of anteater brew. A heaping plateful of bat wing stew. I'm out of roaches. Black beetles will have to do. Let me know if there's anything else I can bring you. Just ring this bell when you're ready for dessert of cobweb cobbler and fried mummy shirt. Eat up, mouse!
Will I?
Oh, I see you don't like what I serve. How dare you not eat? You've really got nerve. Get away, mouse. I'll eat it myself. a Jack and Jill shelf.
Here is a poem in Jack and Jill by Enon E. Mouse. Hey, that's me. Well, here goes. Pumpkin pies, pumpkin faces, ghosts and witches, every places. Thank you.
That's terrible, Mouse. You can do better than that. Entertain me while I'm eating. Entertain me.
Yes, ma'am. Your Highness, your royalty. One morning, Granny Owl woke from her nap with a start.
What in grasshoppers is going on down there?
She hooted, adjusting spectacles. Below, in the sunlit clearing, lion, rabbit, possum, and turtle were yelling at the tops of their lungs.
What's going on down there?
Granny hooted again.
What's going on?
But no one heard her above the row.
What has happened?
She screamed. Still no one heard her. Finally, Granny sailed down among them with a whoosh. After that, you could have heard a mouse move on moss a mile away.
Well, Leonard,
Said Granny, addressing the lion.
speak up. What's going on here? And you better have a mighty handsome reason for disturbing my nap.
Yes, ma'am.
Leonard replied timidly.
It's just that I am tired of the same lion life day after day. I need to be someone else. Me too.
Shouted the others.
I'm going to be someone else, Granny.
Really?
Granny adjusted a wing feather and got a faraway look in her eye.
My great aunt, Maudie Hootbell, always said, being oneself is really the best. An owl's feather feathers an owl's feather nest.
Sure, Granny, but we aren't fooling. This is important.
Important enough to spoil my nap?
Yes, it's very important.
They cried.
Well then,
Said Granny.
in that case, and so that I may rest in peace at least part of the day, I want each of you to bring me a paw print on a piece of bark, and I will mix them up. You may then choose one different from your own. Find out from the animal whose print you get, what his favorite pastime is, and see if you can learn to do that one thing well. Then I will talk to the wood wizard about changing you over. Okay?
Okay.
They agreed at once. After shuffling the prints and allowing each one to choose, Granny flew up to settle her feathers and finish her nap. While she snoozed, the lion hung by his tail, the rabbit roared, the possum floated in the pond, and the turtle hopped. Later, as Granny was preparing her supper, she heard moans and groans drifting up from below.
Three horned owls and speckled toads,
She exclaimed.
Now what?
She saw the turtle balancing on crutches. The rabbit was muffled to his ears in flannel. The lion was wearing an ice bag on his head, and the possum was sneezing with a nasty cold.
Why, you poor dear.
Said Granny.
What has happened to all of you?
Well,
Said Lion.
I picked Possum's portrait, and I found out he likes to hang by his tail. Having a fair tail myself, I thought I would give it a try. For a short time it worked, but
Groaned Lion.
my tail finally unraveled when I was 20 feet from the ground, and I fell and hit my head.
My.
Said Granny.
What about you, Rabbit?
Well,
Rabbit whispered.
I got lion's paw print, so I've been roaring most of the day. Now it looks as if I may never talk like a decent rabbit again.
Goodness.
Exclaimed Granny.
Possum, what happened to you?
I've been over in the pond trying to float like a turtle.
Sniffed Possum.
Yeah, it is. That is Big
I not
Bubby.
only caught a nest of cold,
This record
my
came out in
last puppy became so
1972.
salty, I'm nearly drowned. And
That's old.
Heaven.
Said Granny.
Turtle.
I got Rabbit's paw.
Moaned Turtle, shifting his crutches so he was more comfortable.
Just as I was learning to hop pretty good, I lost my balance and flipped over backward, causing this wretched sprain. I'd much rather float. Floating is a turtle's favorite pastime.
I know.
Said Granny sympathetically.
And I would rather roar,
Said Lion.
but right now it makes my head hurt.
Sure.
Granny said.
I would rather hang upside down from a tree limb.
Sniffed
Yeah,
Possum.
definitely
When I get
old.
rid of this cold, that is.
Agreed Granny.
I would
Titty
rather
Wop.
hop away from all this silliness.
Rabbit said in a small voice. And he did.
Oh,
Said Turtle to Granny before she flew back for supper.
ooh,
I hear they are very wise.
You're getting better, Mouse. Read me another story.
Now, wait a minute, Miss. I've had enough of this. I'm going to split to my pants.
Oh, defy me, will you? I'll show you. Hairpins, lizard fins, 3 bumps on a log. Turn this no-good mouse into a big old frog.
Hey, I'm a
Hi, Big Bubby.
That's not very nice. I thought only handsome princes get turned into frogs.
Now, Booby, tell me another
Booby.
story. Or from now on, you'll split home to your lily pad.
Lily pad? Oh, come
Oh,
on.
Booby.
You're just
That's a one
ripping.
heck of a name for a
Now, my
character.
little green wart, look at it this way. You'd rather split to a lily pad than a launching pad, wouldn't you? Now read.
Oh, here's a story about a peacock.
Grass for sale, nice fresh grass. Cut in the jungle today. Only an on load. Grass.
On top of a nearby mud wall, a large white peacock called out a brassy as his master, 12-year-old Venkana, shouted his wares from the roadside.
Alas, little brother.
Venkana moaned, looking up at his pet.
It seems the villagers are not going to feed their pets tonight. Already it's sundown, and I haven't sold a single load. Wait,
The boy's dark eyes brightened.
here comes a merchant. Surely he won't want grass for his donkey.
But while the donkey cast a longing eye toward the
He's
green
eating
mound
his
as
ass.
he jogged by, the fat merchant on his back did not so much as turn his head. The peacock cried out. Venkana saw that the beautiful bird was looking off toward the jungle at a great work elephant lumbering toward them. The
Ho!
boy cried.
Here comes Rama, the teakwood cutter. I'm certain he will want a load for his animal.
When Rama came alongside, he stopped and said,
Give us a load, boy.
The peacock chirped as if to say, You were right, master. After Venkana had hoisted a bundle up to the driver, he deposited the anna safely in his loincloth and sang out as he always did when he sold a load.
Oh ho, my dear little brother. Tonight we eat rice. You and I and my mother.
Echoed the peacock happily, fanning out his splendid tail to let the last rays of the setting sun glint through its jeweled feathers. Rama lingered to make fast the grass on his elephant's back. A moment later, along came the Raja's great royal elephant, velvet robes swaying, silver bells jingling. The mahout in his fine red turban sat proudly in front, while the Raja and his young daughter, the Rani, were in the howdah behind. As they passed, the elephant reached out with his trunk and snatched a wisp of grass from one of the bundles.
Look,
Rama cried out.
the Raja eats free. Drop it, saucy ones.
The mahout shouted. He drove his goad deep into the elephant's neck, but the animal continued dumping down the grass as fast as he could. The Raja leaned out and said,
Mahout, we must pay the boy for his grass.
When the elephant driver tossed down the anna, the peacock let out an approving from the wall top. The little Rani looked up and clapped her hands, setting all her glass bangles a-jingling.
Oh, Father, what a beautiful peacock.
She cried.
I must have it for my garden. Please have someone catch it for me.
That's the peacock, boy.
The Raja called to Venkana.
That peacock on the wall.
Venkana's eyes grew wide with fear.
Oh, no, my lord.
He choked.
That is not a wild bird. He is my pet, my little brother. His mother and brothers were eaten by a tiger.
Oh, very well.
The Raja sighed.
I'll buy the peacock. Here is a rupee for your...
No, I could not sell him for 1,000 rupees, my lord.
Venkana cried. Rama, with envy in his voice, said,
You found the peacock in the jungle, boy. And doesn't the jungle belong to the Raja? So the peacock belongs to the Raja too, doesn't it? Anyway, everyone knows that a white peacock belongs only within the walls of the Raja's palace. I'll get it for you, my lord.
Rama continued as he drove his elephant close to the wall. But the peacock, with an angry air, raised his tail high and swished it into the top of a nearby mango tree.
That's all right, grass cutter.
The Raja said kindly, seeing Venkana's troubled look.
We won't take your little brother from you. I will find another white peacock for my daughter.
The royal elephant moved on, but Rama still lingered, staring at the peacock in the mango tree.
What a fool that Venkana is, he thought. I would not let a rupee slip through my fingers for a silly old peacock like that.
Early the next morning, when Venkana went looking for the peacock, it was nowhere to be found.
Where are you, little brother?
He called.
Good
The
blood,
boy
Joe.
raced through the tall grass. He peered up into the mango tree. He climbed the wall to be sure his pet wasn't sleeping in one of the deep crevices. He called, whistled, and cried out till his voice was hoarse. During the day, while he was cutting grass in the deep green depths of the jungle, Benkana often stopped to listen to call. When he had gathered 3 large loads, he nearly ran all the way home, praying he might see the white bird strutting along the top of the wall as usual. But alas, he wasn't there. That night, a merchant stopped to buy a load of grass for his donkey. Rama bought one too, but Benkana no longer sang as he tucked the annas in his cloth. He could think of nothing but his missing pet. When morning came and Benkana once again pushed away his bowl of rice, his mother chided him gently.
You must stop grieving, my son. It's likely your little brother has gone back to the jungle to find a mate for himself.
Benkana had to be contented with that, and as the days passed, though he still grieved, he ceased looking up at the top of the wall each time he came in from the jungle. He stopped singing, too. A few days later, as Benkana stood by the roadside with his bundles of grass, the Raja rode up on a fine black horse.
What nice fresh grass you have for him. You know my elephant is ailing and we can't get him to eat a thing. Some of your grass might tempt him. Bring a load around to the stables tomorrow.
The Raja tossed down a rupee and rode on. Benkana was so excited that he appeared at the Raja's palace the next morning just as the sun was coming over the tops of the distant hills. When he came to the big iron gates, a guard stopped him.
Where do you think you're going, grass cutter?
He shouted.
The Raja paid me a rupee to bring his grass for his elephant.
Benkana said boldly.
We'll take it around to the stable and back.
Benkana trotted along the high white wall till he came to a partly open gate.
This must be the stable gate.
He told himself, and shoving it wide, went through. The boy found himself in a lovely garden where a fountain of water sent a fine mist over the green grass and roses, and where the little Ronnie was playing ball by herself. She looked at him in surprise.
What are you doing in my garden, grass cutter?
Before Benkana could answer, a servant rushed up, waving his stick and shouting,
Get out of here, grass cutter! How dare you come into the women's garden?
The Raja told me to bring grass for his elephant.
Benkana answered.
And do you take the young princess for an elephant, stupid one?
The servant knocked the boy's load of grass to the ground.
Leave it here. I will get someone to take it back to the stable. Now get out!
Benkana turned and ran, but before he had taken a dozen steps, the little Ronnie called him back.
Aren't you the boy who had that lovely white peacock?
She asked.
Alas, yes.
The tears welled up in Benkana's eyes.
But no longer. He flew back to the jungle and...
The boy stopped short at the sound of the faint coming from a nearby shrub.
What's that?
Benkana asked, his eyes big. Little Ronnie turned up her nose.
That is the sound of an ugly old peacock my father got for me. What's the matter with him?
Benkana was trembling.
Take a look. He hasn't any feathers. And he hides in that hole all day, shaking and making silly noises. He pets me if I go near him.
Benkana began edging in under the bushes. The place was covered with feathers, and the little fowl was crouched in a hole under the wall, shivering. He let out a faint coo as Benkana neared.
Where did you get him?
Benkana called for little Ronnie.
One of the teakwood cutters. Rama, I think. He brought him in from the jungle, and my father paid 5 rupees for him. But he's not worth an anna. He got sick the day he came. Take him back to the jungle, boy. I don't like sick things in my garden.
Benkana crawled up to the sick bird.
Come on, little brother.
He whispered. The boy took the bird in his arms and wrapped him close in the end of his turban. Then, without looking back at the little Ronnie, he fled from the garden. Back in his own humble courtyard outside the village, Benkana set the peacock down. It blinked, fell back when it tried to fly to the top of the wall, then started to creep toward a dark corner.
Come, little brother.
Benkana said encouragingly.
You are as foolish as that little Ronnie. Don't you know that you are only molting? Each year you will lose your fine coat, and you will have to wait for a new one to grow in. Soon you will be just as fine as you were before.
The peacock seemed to perk its head up a little.
But don't take your good looks so seriously.
Benkana warned.
Just remember it was your beauty that got you into so much trouble. Sometimes it's better to be plain. When you are poor and shabby, you find out who your true friends really are.
The peacock agreed.
All right. About that. Pretty cool, huh? That's the gayest thing you have ever heard. Oh, I messed up. It's 1975. Roy. Music written by Mike Wolf. Produced by Strawberry Patch. Post Company. See this one. Oh. What do you guys think about that record? Pretty cool, huh? Well, ready for side 2, Ping Piss?
Gary Malloy and his twin sister Suki enjoy everything that is haunted or spooky. So one day they went to the Children's Museum. There were scary things there, and they wanted to see them. Their friend Billy Bronson had been there last week, and he'd said he had been nearly too scared to speak. The children set out with their shaggy dog Hector, and they had brought him along to be their protector. Though they both thought it jolly to shiver with fright. If they met real danger, Hector would bite. They reached the museum that morning at 8. "You're early, my friends," said the man at the gate. "And no dogs allowed. It's a strict rule, I fear. Yet since you were early and the only folks here, I'll let you in, and your animal too. But leave him home next time. We don't run a zoo." The children went in and found the direction to the place that they wanted, the haunted house section.
Come along, Hector. On guard.
Ordered Gary.
We'll need you close by if things get too scary.
Hector looked fierce. He growled and he grunted. He'd act real ferocious if that's what they wanted. The haunted house section has a big entrance room that's shadowy dark and shrouded in gloom, with all sorts of skeletons eerily grinning. It made such a shivery, spooky beginning. But Hector, alas, in begging-type tones, started barking for one of the skeleton bones. He took a quick snap at his skeleton arm. Both children caught him and cried in alarm.
Those bones are to look at. They're not for a snack.
Behave yourself now, or we'll have to go back.
Then they hurried on to the time machine box. The door slowly closed with a groaning of locks. Glaring lights flickered while the box shifted gears, and they went back in time about 1,000,000 years. The door opened up, and lo and behold, a forest was there. Prehistorically old. It was a haunted-type forest, decidedly creepy. The ground they discovered was oozy and seepy. The air, hot and wet, seemed to cling to their clothes. Tangled wild weeds made grabs at their toes. Over their heads swooped huge dragonflies with long flapping wings of gigantic size. Cockroaches as large as the sole of one's foot were crawling about like clumps of black soot.
I'm scared.
Whispered Suki.
Where's our protector? Where's Hector? Gary! Hector! Oh, Hector!
Then, soon through the dim and mysterious light, they found Hector hiding and quaking with fright. "That coward," said Gary, looking quite grim.
It's we who'll have to protect and guard him.
They hustled along, suspecting there'd be more scary, haunting, and weird sights to see. The next room contained a strange sight, for sure. A spine-chilling, flesh-eating, huge dinosaur. He was glaring and staring and flexing his jowls. The room rang and echoed with dinosaur howls. Then other howls echoed, shrill and quite hoarse. It was a fear-stricken, skittery Hector, of course.
Oh,
Complained Suki.
what ails that dog? He's no more protection than Billy's pet frog.
True. helping. It's scary enough without all this yelping.
They traveled along and presently saw a big hollow cave carved out of a wall. A caveman and woman sat on the ground. A group of cave children were playing around. The wife held a fur and was trying to patch
They found
it.
the crudes.
The caveman was holding a sharp Stone Age hatchet. They looked most unfriendly, the whole family, and so did the wildcat up in a tree. They heard some loud barking soon after that. It was Hector attempting to chase the wildcat. To give Hector credit, he never at least was frightened or scared of a feline-type beast. But as he kept barking, it suddenly seemed that the eyes of the caveman angrily gleamed. The hatchet he held gave a menacing jerk. The cave woman scowled and put down her work.
They've all come alive.
Gary said with a shout.
This place is sure haunted. Of that, there's no doubt.
Cried Suki.
Let's leave, quick, on the double. They're angry at Hector. That's the whole trouble.
They left the wild caveman who was shaking his fist, or so it appeared through the fog and the mist. They now were approaching a place dank and chill, mysterious Stonehenge, quiet and still. Huge stones and boulders stood in a row. They were hauled there by people ages ago. Why they were put there, nobody knows. But they had a good reason, one can suppose. Gary and Suki were quite pleased to see this place of great fame and deep mystery. Then, all of a sudden, strange sounds were heard. A creature swooped down, a bat or a bird. It seemed to the children that someone was talking, and one of the boulders was actually walking. Then, through the thick mist rang the yelp of a dog. It was Hector, upset by the stones and the fog.
Hector,
Said Gary.
you're being a pest. Today you have surely not been at your best. We're feeling jumpy and skittery too, but we tried to act brave. So please, why don't you?
The children walked on, and they walked in a hurry. If they stayed too much longer, their mother might worry. As they turned the corner, the next thing they saw was a large prehistoric banqueting hall. A party of cavemen had plopped down to eat. They were crunching on bones and chomping raw meat. The children stood awestruck, watching them munch. Then Hector, deciding it was time for his lunch, forgot all his fears, made a quick doggy stand, and snatched a big bone from a caveman's left hand. Away Hector raced, that bone-snatching thief, through an exiting door with the bone in his teeth. The children ran after him, shouting his name. But to Hector it seemed just a jolly good game. They raced him and chased him past pillar and dome, but they never caught Hector until he got home. They rescued the bone, gave Hector a spank, then served him his luncheon, a crunchy ham shank.
That bone,
Gary said.
we'll take back tomorrow. There's much more to see, so it should cause us no sorrow. I love that museum, didn't you, Suki? It's a great place to go when you want to feel spooky.
Yes,
Nodded Suki.
but we mustn't take Hector. He's really a nuisance, and he's not a protector. He'd have been a real pest had there been a large crowd. It's a good thing the rule says no dogs allowed.
Hello?
Joni Hall was leaving school when the poster caught her eye. She stopped so suddenly that her friend Sandy Powell almost fell over her.
Hey, what's the big idea?
Sandy complained, but stopped as she too saw the poster, which read, Halloween party, prizes, food, games. The annual
Diarrhea.
Halloween party will be held in the school gym on October 31st. Admission price is a contribution to the ecology drive. Recycle your cans, bottles, or newspapers and exchange them for a ticket to the party,
That sounds like fun.
Sandy said as the girls walked home.
I'll bet just about everybody in town will be there. I'll bet every newspaper and can in town will be there, too.
Joni added, laughing.
I never thought of that.
Sandy exclaimed.
When the kids see the poster, there won't be a thing left in town. 3 days isn't long to get ready. Yeah, and you'll need a costume, too, if you're going to be in the parade. Oh, my gosh.
Sandy cried.
I forgot about the parade. Have you got any ideas for a costume? Nope. But if you want to win a prize, you'll have to think of something really different. Let's go to my house.
Sandy suggested.
Maybe if we put our heads together, we'll come up with something.
Joni shook her head.
Can't, Sandy. I promised Mrs. Walker I'd rake leaves for her.
Sandy groaned.
She has the biggest yard in town. It will take forever to rake all those leaves.
Joni smiled.
Well, then I'd better get started.
The girls parted and Joni went to work on the leaves. When she went to the Walkers' basement to get a rake, she noticed a stack of newspapers in one corner. She made a mental note to ask if she could have them for the ecology drive. It was nearly 6 o'clock when Joni stopped for the day. She had to hurry to get home in time for dinner. She would ask Mrs. Walker for the newspapers tomorrow. The next day, the sky was dark. Joni hurried to finish her work before the rain started. When she reached home, she realized that she had again forgotten the newspapers. In the living room, her brother Brad was finishing his Halloween costume.
How's your costume coming?
Brad asked. Joni shook her head.
I haven't got one. I promised Mrs. Walker I'd finish the yard work before the parade, so I won't have time to make a costume this year.
Gee, that's tough.
Brad said.
Is there anything I can do?
No, thanks just the same. It's my own fault for waiting so long, but I don't mind. The party's the best part, and I have my eye on a big contribution for that.
Brad laughed.
I'm glad. The kids have really cleaned out the town. I'll bet there isn't a spare newspaper anywhere. I took ours down yesterday.
Joni thought of the stack of papers in Mrs. Walker's basement. Taking them to the school would be her last job before the parade. She was sure Mrs. Walker would be glad to donate them, and she would still be able to watch the parade, even if she couldn't be in it. The next afternoon, Joni finished the yard work early and hurried into the basement where Mrs. Walker was waiting to put the rake away. Her eyes fell on the corner where the pile of papers should have been, but it was empty.
What happened to your newspapers, Mrs. Walker?
She blurted out.
Oh, those. Sandy Powell came this morning to pick them up for the party tonight.
She explained. Then, seeing Joni's sad face, she added,
I'm sorry, dear. I didn't realize you wanted them.
Joni swallowed hard.
That's okay, Mrs. Walker.
She managed. The girl started dejectedly toward the door, but Mrs. Walker stopped her.
Come upstairs and have some milk and cookies. They'll make you feel better.
Joni didn't think anything could make her feel better, but she followed Mrs. Walker into the kitchen. As she munched on a cookie, she tried to think of a way out of her dilemma.
I feel bad about all of this.
Mrs. Walker said.
I'd like to help, but all I have left are the evening paper and this empty soapbox. There isn't much you can do with those.
Joni's face brightened as she looked at the empty soapbox.
Maybe there is something I can do with them.
She answered mysteriously. You seem happy, Joni, her father commented at the dinner table that evening. Are you ready for the parade?
Not quite, Dad. But if I can have a piece of wood from your workshop, I still will be.
Her father looked puzzled,
Titties.
but gave his permission. After finding what she needed, Joni shut herself in a room and went to work. First, she made a three-cornered hat from a sheet of newspaper. Then, after gluing the stick of wood to the soapbox, she went to work on her costume. The glue was still dry when Brad called her.
Everyone's ready, Joni. Are you coming?
She poked her head out the door.
Go ahead, Brad. I'll catch up.
Joni touched her costume gingerly. The glue was almost dry. Now for the sign. She chuckled as she printed it in big black letters. The parade had already started when Joni got there, and soon it would be her turn to be judged. There was a moment of silence when Joni stepped onto the platform. Then a flashbulb burst, and the judge was shaking her hand. The first prize goes to Joni Hall for the best costume, the judge announced. This girl certainly has the ecology spirit. Joni grinned as she displayed her costume. She was dressed completely in newspapers. In one hand, she carried the stick attached to the empty soapbox. The sign glued to the box read, I've been recycled. Everyone gathered around her and called out their congratulations. Sandy pushed her way through the crowd.
That's some costume.
She said.
But what about the party? You don't have anything to bring.
Joni grinned broadly.
Sure I do, Sandy. I'm wearing it.
Later at the party, everyone agreed that Joni's surprise costume was the best they had ever seen.
Even though he is a louse, turn this frog back into a mouse.
Thank you. Thank you, Witch.
Evil, 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 evil. I love evil. Anything with evil in it. Evil books, evil looks, evil Knievel, bowling, anything. I hate it for everybody.
and there's just no reason for it. The next time you're near a mirror, take a good peek. But creep up on it slowly or you'll scare yourself out of your wits. If you had wits.
Before I cry another tear, change this mouse into a mirror.
There you go again.
Oh, look at me. Yeah. I never saw myself in a mirror. Give it away. Give it away. Turn back to a mouse, you ugly mirror. Before this reflection gets any clearer.
What happened? I'm a mouse. When you change me back into a mouse, you aimed your magic at your own reflection in the mirror. You tricked me! You tricked me! Come on, Witchy, don't take it all so badly. You have to admit that being a cute little mouse is a lot better than being a big, ugly old witch.
My magic is gone. I'll be a mouse forever.
Great! I have a friend who I'm sure would love to meet you. He's a real cutie for a mouse.
Really? Do you really mean it?
Yep. But you better watch out, because he'll probably tickle you like this. Like this. I want to
Huh. What do you guys think about that, huh? Pretty wild in a way. What do you think? That was pretty cool. Airplane's taking off. Well, thanks for listening, guys. And thanks for enjoying that with me. I hope you enjoyed it. And there'll be plenty of live streams coming your way. Just don't deboil it. Well, goodbye. Turd lovers.